So you've been going to therapy for a little bit and you've kind of gotten this sense this isn't working. Maybe you feel like the therapist doesn't really understand what your problem is. Maybe you just don't really like them or it's very uncomfortable going to therapy. Maybe the types of things that they're focusing on isn't really what you want to be focusing on or isn't helping at all. How do you break up with your therapist? The first thing to always ask yourself is this something that can be fixed? Or is this something that needs a clean break? So, for example, I view therapy as a two-way street. Sometimes we're going to work on things that just don't end up working, and that's fine. But I need to know that in order to switch course. I need that information from you of, hey, this isn't working. I'm not a mind reader, despite what people say about therapists. And so the first question is asking yourself, is this something I feel comfortable bringing up with my therapist that I could say like, hey, this isn't working, or hey, I know we've been focusing on this, but I really want to start focusing on this. Is that okay? Or I don't feel like I'm getting better. Is there a different approach that we can take? Those questions aren't offensive. They're not saying like your therapist is a horrible, terrible monster who's like awful at their job. No, your therapist may be bad at what they're doing. That is a possibility, and that's part of the second answer to that question, or the second question. But it is always helpful if you're feeling like therapy isn't really working, is to check in and go, is there a way that I can correct course and get back on track? And usually in that situation, maybe you like your therapist, you feel comfortable with them, or you at least feel like they have the potential to help you or they know what you're talking about. And really that is just a conversation of how do we get on the same page and how do we work and meet you where you're at and develop skills that are actually helping you. So that is the first piece. The second, if you don't like the therapist, if they're rude, if they're talking down to you, if you just don't think that they're the right fit for you, or you want to try somewhere else, or you think you're, doing fine, whatever it is, and you want to make a clean break, there are a couple of options that you have. The first is if you're looking for another referral. So for example, I got my PhD when I was 27. I was licensed by the time I was 28, but I looked a lot younger than I was. And I was young, still am. And a number of clients who would work with me, but maybe they were in their 50s or 60s or 70s, and they wanted someone who was a little bit similar in age. They felt that a therapist who was older might have more experience with their specific issues that they were working on, which is fine. I also have clients coming to me because they were working with a therapist who was older and they wanted someone who was a little bit younger or who had graduated more recently and therefore they felt was most up to date on the new types of treatments and research. And so if you're looking for a recommendation, you can do that in person, just letting them know, hey, it's nothing against you, but I don't know if we're the right fit. I think I'm looking for someone who's older or someone who's the same ethnicity as me or someone, who speaks the same languages that I do. Do you have a referral? If that feels too uncomfortable, you can always email in about it. And if someone works in a group practice where there's like an admin person or some type of receptionist or secretary, you can always call the front office and just explain the situation. But if your therapist is, in their own private practice like I am, you can also just send a simple email and say, hey, I don't know if we're a good fit because of these reasons. I'm really looking for this. Do you have a recommendation? Now, if you just want to get out of there and you just want to do nothing, there are a couple of options that you can do. One, you can tell them just straight up like, hey, I don't think this is working. I'm not going to schedule any further sessions. You can email that. Or you can also just say you're going to schedule another session, schedule it, and then email them and simply say, hey, I need to cancel my next session. I think I'm doing all right, or I think I need to take a break from therapy. I'll reach out when I want to book something again in the future. That's a pretty non-committal way to just say hey, please don't contact me. I'm done for right now, without just completely ghosting people. I would really ask that you just not ghost your therapist. Now, unless they've done something illegal or inappropriate or anything like that, or rude or harassing you, other than those obvious things that are causing you harm, what happens when we just don't hear from a client is we worry. We're going to follow up. We're going to call or we're going to email. We're going to do that a couple of times because we don't know what happened. Eventually, we'll kind of get the hint, just like someone you're dating that you ghost. They get the hint, okay, you don't want to talk to me anymore. But particularly in many situations, we might be worried that something's really wrong and we might even call to do a wellness check on you. So Even if it's just canceling a session or sending a brief email like, hey, I think I need a break from therapy right now, that at least lets us know that, you know, you're alive and you're making a decision not to continue therapy. Some people might reach out to kind of get a little clarification. You're in no obligation to provide that, but you can always in session schedule the next session and then email a day or two later and say, hey, I need to cancel this session. I've been thinking about it. I think I want to take a break from therapy. Thanks for all your help. Adios. And that's really as simple as it is. If you do end up leaving a therapist because they're not the right fit, I would encourage you to take some time afterwards to just ask yourself, what didn't work? What were you hoping to get out of therapy? Who might be a better fit for you? Sometimes it can take a little while to find a therapist that is a good fit, and I really hope that one bad or not helpful experience with a therapist doesn't turn you off from the idea of therapy in general, because there are a lot of really excellent therapists out there who might be able to really help you transform your life and provide you with great insight and tools and skills so that you can go off into the world and thrive. So taking that time to really reflect on the experience of what didn't work can give you important information when you go to find a therapist in the future. And if you're unsure how to find a therapist that is a good fit, check out my video and it'll walk you through step by step how to find a therapist that's the best fit for you. And subscribe.